It's actually pretty easy to invest in boutique hotels if you work on the right things. And I make these videos because I'm yelling at my younger self because I spent a lot of time doing the wrong things, which caused a lot more effort and strain. Now as of today, I've bought and managed a 200 plus unit portfolio of 6 boutique hotels and counting that do millions a year in revenue. And I want to show you the things that will give you the most levers to actually gain traction and make a boutique hotel attainable for you. If you already have successful Airbnbs or in the real estate investing or hospitality space, this is why you need to level up with boutique hotels. First of all, with boutique hotels, there are a few important differences compared to normal Airbnb houses. One of the biggest is hotels are zoned commercial, so you don't have to worry about Airbnbs getting banned. In fact, regulation can actually help a boutique hotel investor because if regulation comes down that bans Airbnbs, hotels are not affected of it because of their zoning. So while all the other STR investors are pulling their hair out and cursing that Airbnb is dead, hotels keep chugging along. And because of that supply being shut off without demand being affected, you can charge more and have an easier time filling up your rooms. So you actually make more money. I actually experienced this in South Lake Tahoe where I had 2 boutique hotels in the State Line area, and regulation hit in 2021 when I bought there and it shut down a ton of listings. And I beat my projections because of all that demand had to go somewhere. And then property values are based on the income of the property and not on the comparable sales or the comps like residential houses, which is a huge limiting factor for Airbnb investors. So for them, no matter how well they operate or how much income they generate with the property, it's still only valued based on the sale of similar nearby houses, because that's how houses are valued. Like hotels, on the other hand, are commercial properties and they sell like businesses. So the more the net income they make, the higher the price. And then hotels might take more to acquire and build up on the front end, but are so much easier to operate on the back end. It might take you longer to find and close a hotel because there are a lot less hotels than there are houses, but once you find the right deal, actually running it is so much easier than buying the same amount of Airbnbs. Like I'll take a 10 unit boutique hotel over 10 Airbnb properties all day. That's because the hotel operates as a business and has the revenue from the start to hire team members you need to actually manage the hotel, keeping them focused on the tasks and you focus on growing the business. And that's exactly how it should be. You focusing on growing the business is going to lead to more opportunities and more deals and more growth for the team as a whole. So they get more opportunities because you're doing your job as the business owner. So now that we know the key differences between the two, here's what you can do to make the switch and get your first boutique hotel in 7 easy steps. First, you got to realize up front that hotels are a hospitality business. It's not passive real estate. So you're not going to go in like you would with multifamily investing and be able to be fully hands off with it. You have to stay involved, but because of the team building aspects and the scalability, it can definitely be manageable, but you just need to be thinking about it more of a hospitality business as you get into it. And then it's time to pick your market. So anywhere that short-term rentals will work, so will hotels, with maybe the exception of super rural areas because a house can be out in the middle of nowhere and all you need is to fill it with one person or one party. But destination markets or cities or national park markets, rural drive-to markets, like they all work, right? The key is to find where you like because it will give you an excuse to go visit there, right? Free trips and write off your vacations, and where people are already going. Then you just got to work on creating something better than any other of the comps in the area and then just market it better. Then it's on to choosing your criteria. And this includes things like the size, how many units it has, how much renovation work you're comfortable with, the staffing needs, and the equity requirement, meaning the amount of money you have to bring into the deal and even where it's located. And out of all the possible deals, right, all these options, you're trying to whittle it down to that's the most feasible and the most desirable for you. And then just say no to everything else and keep your focus because that's where most people get lost. Now's where you start to get leads, and you have to go out and find the deals because in the beginning, they're not just going to come to you. So a couple things you can do is you can look on online listings like Crexy and LoopNet and BizBuySell, and there's a lot of others, or you can go to brokers or even directly to the sellers or get referrals from other investors in the area. You want the top of your funnel to be as wide as possible so that you can get as many leads as possible so that for the next one, you can start to analyze deals. And sometimes you'll hear me call this underwriting, but it's really the same thing. And really what you're trying to do is get the reps that's needed to recognize a good deal when you see it. Because the more deals you look at, the better you're gonna get, the better deals you'll get, and the more opportunities you'll have. Like you should have a deal analysis breakdown like this with all your deals. I've underwritten thousands of deals and hundreds of hotels now, so I know what I'm looking for and I analyze properties really well. And that's what your goal is as well. So you can go to the description below in the video to get my Boutique Hotel Analyzer for free. So that way you have no excuses to not be out there analyzing deals. Then once you start getting your reps in, you can start to put in offers. And since this is the commercial real estate space, that process usually looks like first submitting a letter of intent or an LOI. And those are just non-binding agreements between you and the seller that outlines your terms and kind of puts everything together. So you get that in place before the purchase and sale agreement or the PSA. So in the commercial space, it'll go LOI, PSA, and then you get into your due diligence where you can do your inspections and your appraisals and everything else, and then onto your closing. And now you own a boutique hotel. This is where it starts to get fun, because next you build your team, because you can't and you should not run a hotel by yourself. It's just not a one-person job. You're not dealing with STRs anymore. I just talked to a husband and wife couple about my hotel mastermind not long ago, and they were so tied up in their business that they were getting crushed by the demands of it. And on top of that, they weren't operating the hotel that well because they were so stuck in the day-to-day working 60 and 80 plus hour weeks because they couldn't take the time to build systems and work on improvements. So the husband had to go get another job to keep up with the bills. So spending even more time working. And that's not the goal, right? That's the crazy hamster wheel of hotel management done poorly. So you need a team with your hotel so that everything runs better, right? Your guests are better taken care of. Your maintenance things get done on time. You have more time to work on process control and quality control things so everything improves. And best of all, you do that so your time isn't wrapped up in the doing at the hotel, unless you want it to be, and you can focus on higher priority and higher dollar per hour tasks that are going to push everything forward. Do you see how when you break down this big, hairy, audacious goal of getting a boutique hotel, the individual components are pretty simple. Like, you don't need to do it all at once, and in fact, doing so will slow you down. If you want to go fast, first pick your market, then dial in your criteria, only then start looking for deals, and then start underwriting them to get the reps and so on. This is how you systematically break down that big goal into more digestible parts so that you can get the traction. Now, getting into your first boutique hotel deal or scaling past your first onto your second deal, or maybe it's a deal in a new market, it's going to create some other issues with operations. This is the part that gets overlooked a lot because people think that hotel operations will be the same as Airbnb houses, and I hate to break it to you, but it's not. Now, don't hear that and freak out. They are absolutely similar and share a foundation, and I'll break that down so you can see the nuances. So over here on the Airbnb side, you have one guest, but with hotels, you have many guests, right? That's a pretty obvious one. But also, as you get more granular with Airbnbs, you have an individualized or a single group experience, whereas on the hotel side, you have multiple parties or multiple groups and their experience into it. And then with Airbnb, it's all online, there's few touch points. Hotels have more questions and more calls. Then Airbnbs, their guests with there's problems, they kind of understand, or most of them do. And on the hotel side, guests have higher expectations. They have the expectation that it gets fixed or gets handled because you're a business. And you'll see with Airbnbs, like, guests don't bother or message you a lot of the times, and hotel guests, they will call you, they'll let you know. And then your OTA differences, right? With Airbnbs, it's Airbnb and Vrbo. And then on the hotel side is Expedia and Booking.com and Hotels.com and Google Hotels. And then finally, you have on the Airbnb side, it's staffless, right? There's nobody there at the house. But on the hotel side, you have the team. Really, the team is required to run it like a business as it should be. And just in general, the demands of your guests are much more at a hotel, but they're typically simpler, easier problems to fix. And I found that if you do right by your guests, they're going to understand, and they're going to take what you give them in form of a concession and either not leave you a bad review or not leave you a review at all, which is sometimes better. So what do you do about it, and how do you handle these nuances? Well, one, as we spoke about already, is hiring a team. And hotels are great because they generally make enough that you can put a team in place from the beginning and have them to kind of handle the day-to-day. And once you have that team in place, you have a few tasks. So first is to identify where your bottlenecks are or where the frequent guest complaints are coming from. Then you want to document the solution to that problem as you do it or as you implement it with your team. And then you've got to train your team to handle it from there and take ownership of that process. Like they have it from that point, and then they're making updates to that process as things evolve. This is where it really starts to become a business because you're documenting and putting those things in place. So this is really where you start to build systems into your business. It's where we spend a lot of time in my hotel mastermind because it's the biggest time saver that you have. So that you don't have to go buy a hotel and then go get a job on the side just to keep up. Team and systems are your keys to freedom, and boutique hotels are what help you get there faster. So if you come across a good boutique hotel deal, these are the pieces that you need to be thinking about to slide into place. And collectively, it's a lot, I'm not gonna lie. It's gonna push you, and there's gonna be some days where you're gonna rack your head and just think, what the heck am I doing? But know this, I've been there as well. I've gotten through this stage on all 6 of my hotel deals, and my most recent deal took me 3 months longer than I thought that I would need to close, and then another 8 after that to get the construction loan closed. And that's a long time for one deal, but it's also the size of my other 5 hotel deals put together, and the financial rewards will be well worth the $10 million of equity that's created through that value add process. And I would have had to do dozens of Airbnbs to get that same impact. And that would have taken even longer with more work. And for you, maybe that looks like one hotel deal taking a few months, but it making, as much money as 5 to 10 Airbnbs. And what boutique hotels really give you is leverage to reach your financial goals faster, along with that creative outlet to create really awesome and inspiring spaces for your guests. So if you love travel and you like making money, this is where you belong. And when you do come across that hotel deal that you want to take down and want some help with it, reach out. Me and my team would be happy to help. And until then, I'll see you on the next one.